Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The office buzzed with activity as I gripped the hospital's letter in my hand. My son Oliver's critical heart surgery was days away, and I needed time off. This was my chance to plead my case, to remind Hudson Grayson, my boss, that I wasn't just an employee. I was a mother desperate to save her child. Hudson's door loomed ahead, a barrier I dreaded crossing. "Be careful, Jenna," the receptionist murmured as I passed her desk. "He's in one of his moods." I nodded but kept moving. I had no choice. This was my son's life. Hudson didn't even look up when I entered. He sat behind his oversized desk, typing furiously, his jaw clenched. "What is it, Samantha?" "I need some time off next week," I began, my voice steady despite the tightness in my chest. His typing stopped, and he leaned back in his chair, fixing me with a cold stare. "Time off? Why?" "My son's surgery," I replied, keeping my voice steady despite the nerves knotting in my stomach. "It's scheduled for next Tuesday. It's critical." "Critical for you, maybe?" he interrupted, his tone ice cold. "Not for this company." I blinked, caught off guard by his bluntness. "Hudson, this isn't just a routine procedure. It's a matter of life and death." "And whose life and death is that?" He stood, towering over me as he rounded the desk. "Look, Samantha, I get it. You've got a kid, and kids get sick. But this is a business, not a charity. You have responsibilities here." My jaw tightened. "I've worked here for 7 years, Hudson. I've never asked for extended time off before. I've always been here, working late, picking up the slack, even covering for others. Can't you make an exception just this once?" His laugh was sharp and humorless. "You think you're irreplaceable? Newsflash. No one is. You want time off? Fine. But don't expect to have a job waiting for you when you get back." His words hit like a punch to the gut. My pulse raced, my vision narrowing as frustration bubbled to the surface. I had always played by the rules, always done what was asked of me, but this was cruel. "Hudson," I said, my voice trembling but firm, "I can't choose between my job and my son's life." "Then don't," he snapped, his eyes cold and unyielding. "You know where the door is." I left his office in a daze, Jenna's concerned whisper trailing after me. "You don't deserve this." Packing my desk that evening, I felt a strange mix of fear and liberation. Hudson had made his priorities clear, and now I had to make mine. Walking out of that office for the last time, I resolved to face the uncertainty ahead, because nothing mattered more than my son's life. The morning sunlight filtered through the hospital room, casting a warm glow on Oliver's sleeping face. I sat by his bedside, my heart swelling with relief as I watched the steady rise and fall of his chest. The surgeon's words still echoed in my mind. The surgery was a success. He's going to be okay. Tears pricked at my eyes as I brushed a strand of hair from Oliver's forehead. For weeks, I had carried a weight so heavy it threatened to crush me. Now that weight was gone. My little boy had fought a battle no child should have to face, and he had come out victorious. It's been 2 weeks. The house was quiet except for the steady hum of the oxygen concentrator in Oliver's room. I sipped my coffee at the kitchen table, scrolling through job boards on my laptop, though my mind was elsewhere. Resigning had been a leap into the unknown, and I wasn't sure where or how I'd land. The doorbell rang, startling me. Setting my mug down, I opened the door to find Jenna, my former coworker, holding a large envelope. "Samantha," she said, glancing over her shoulder as though someone might be watching. "This was dropped off at the office for you. It's from Hudson." I took the envelope, a knot forming in my stomach. "Thanks, Jenna. Are you okay?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Things aren't good there. Hudson's scrambling, trying to keep everything afloat. Clients are furious about missed deadlines. And," she hesitated, her eyes darting to the envelope. "Be careful, okay?" Her words sent a chill down my spine. As she left, I sat at the table and tore the envelope open. Inside was a formal letter from the company's legal team, accusing me of breaching my contract by resigning without notice. It demanded I either return to work immediately or face legal action. Anger bubbled up as I read. He was trying to scare me back into submission. I reached for my phone, my hands trembling, and dialed my friend Carla, a lawyer. "This is retaliation, plain and simple," Carla said after I explained the situation. He's bluffing, Samantha. Let him try to take this to court. His behavior alone could sink him. But I feel like I'm being dragged into a war, I said, my voice shaking. All I wanted was to be there for my son. And you are, Carla said firmly. Hudson's trying to make you regret standing up for yourself. Don't give him that satisfaction. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with another call. It was Hudson. I stared at the screen, debating whether to answer. Pick up, Carla urged. Let's see what he wants. I switched to the call. Samantha, Hudson's voice was tight, laced with frustration. We need to talk. About what? I asked coldly. The mess you've left behind, he snapped. Clients are leaving. Deadlines are slipping. I don't have time to deal with this. Come back, and we can forget the whole thing. I let out a bitter laugh. Forget it? You humiliated me, Hudson. You made it clear I was replaceable, so replace me. This isn't a negotiation, he barked. You're breaching your contract. Then sue me, I shot back. But don't expect me to clean up the disaster you created. There was silence on the line before he muttered, You'll regret this, and hung up. I set the phone down, my hands trembling again, not with fear but with determination. Hudson thought he could intimidate me, but he had no idea what I was capable of. The email sat open on my screen, its words burning into my mind. A former client, Mrs. Delaney, had reached out, disappointed, frustrated, and confused. Samantha, the email read, Since your departure, the work quality has plummeted. Deadlines are being missed, and communication is non-existent. Did you know about this before you left? I clenched my fists, my pulse quickening. Hudson was losing control faster than I'd anticipated, and his incompetence was now spilling over to clients. Mrs. Delaney's message wasn't just a cry for help, it was an opportunity. I picked up my phone and dialed Carla. It's worse than I thought, I said the moment she answered. Clients are being dragged into Hudson's mess, and he's blaming me for everything, but I think I know how to turn this around. I'm listening, Carla replied, her tone sharp with interest. I'm going to contact some of our key clients, ones I worked with closely. I'll explain the truth and offer my services independently. If Hudson wants to play dirty, I'll hit him where it hurts, his reputation. Bold move, Carla said after a pause. But make sure you're careful. Don't give him ammunition to come after you for anything legitimate. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I'll tread lightly, but I can't sit back and let him bully me into submission. Later that evening, after putting Oliver to bed, I sat at the dining table with my laptop. The first email I composed was to Mrs. Delaney. Subject, a personal update. Dear Mrs. Delaney, I'm so sorry to hear about the difficulties you've been experiencing. Since my departure, I've had no involvement with the company's operations, but I deeply regret the impact this has had on you. If you ever need support, please know I'm available to assist independently. I value the relationship we built and am committed to ensuring you receive the service you deserve. Warm regards, Samantha. The words felt risky but empowering. Before I could second-guess myself, I hit send. The next morning, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. Samantha, it's Delaney, the familiar voice said. I got your email. Are you serious about helping us? Absolutely, I replied, keeping my voice steady. Well, I can't handle this mess anymore. If you're available, let's talk about how we can move forward without them. I smiled, relief washing over me. Thank you for trusting me, Mrs. Delaney. Let's set up a time to chat. As I ended the call, my phone buzzed again, this time with Hudson's name flashing across the screen. I ignored it, knowing he'd heard about the fallout and was desperate to regain control. Later that day, Carla called. Hudson's losing it, she said, barely able to contain her laughter. Rumor has it, 2 more clients are pulling out. Good, I replied, my voice firm. He's finally learning what happens when you push someone too far. For the first time in weeks, I felt in control. Hudson's empire was crumbling, and this time I held all the cards. The message arrived at dawn, its subject line sharp as a dagger. URGNT. Legal action against you. My heart stuttered as I opened it, the cold, clinical language of Hudson's lawyer spilling across the screen. They were threatening to sue for breach of contract, claiming I had unlawfully contacted clients and caused financial harm to the company. I exhaled slowly, clutching my coffee mug tighter. So this was Hudson's next move. He wasn't just scrambling to fix the chaos. I'd pushed him far enough to retaliate. Before panic could root itself too deeply, I dialed Carla. "He's suing me," I said, skipping any greeting. "Are you surprised?" she replied. "He's cornered, and you're the only person he can lash out at. But remember, you've got leverage, Samantha." Leverage. The word ignited something in me. Carla was right. I wasn't powerless. Hudson had created a hostile environment that drove me to leave, and the growing exodus of clients was proof that his leadership, not my departure, was the real issue. That afternoon, I sat in the office of my attorney, Mr. Whitaker, laying out every detail: the abuse, the impossible demands, the clients reaching out to me. "He can't win this," Mr. Whitaker said confidently. "You have a solid case for a countersuit, wrongful termination disguised as constructive dismissal. And if he wants to drag this out in court, his skeletons will come tumbling out." That evening, I prepared for the next phase. I sent a few more carefully worded emails to former clients, ones I knew were teetering on the edge of leaving the company. I didn't need to say much. Hudson's incompetence spoke louder than I ever could. 2 days later, the trigger came. A headline splashed across my newsfeed: "Major clients withdraw amid scandal at top firm." I clicked on the article, reading how 3 of Hudson's largest accounts had pulled out, citing irreconcilable differences with management. The next morning, Hudson's name popped up on my phone screen again. This time I answered. "Hudson," I said evenly, leaning back in my chair. "You're ruining me," he barked, his voice shaking with a mix of rage and desperation. "Do you think this is a game? Because I'll bury you in court if that's what it takes." I stayed silent for a moment, letting his words hang in the air. Then I replied, calm and deliberate, "Hudson, you buried yourself the moment you forgot how to treat people. This isn't about me. It's about the choices you made." He was silent for a beat, then his voice softened, almost pleading. "Samantha, I need you back. I'll double your salary, give you complete autonomy. Whatever you want. Just fix this." I smiled, the taste of vindication sweet on my tongue. "No, Hudson, I'm done cleaning up your messes. Good luck." As I hung up, I felt a strange mix of triumph and relief. Hudson's downfall wasn't just about the company, it was about reclaiming my power, and I wasn't about to give it up again. The crisp autumn air filled the room as I stood by the window, watching leaves tumble lazily onto the lawn. It had been 6 months since I last heard from Hudson. The lawsuit never materialized, thanks to Mr. Whitaker's well-timed counterarguments. The company was in shambles, with reports circulating that Hudson had resigned under pressure from the board. I had moved on, or so I thought. The trigger came when an unmarked envelope appeared in my mailbox. Inside was a handwritten note, the familiar scrawl sending a chill down my spine. "You think you've won, Samantha, but I'm not done. Let's see how far you'll go to protect what matters most." My stomach dropped. Hudson might have lost the company, but this message was a reminder that he wasn't someone who accepted defeat quietly. My eyes darted to the living room where my kids played, blissfully unaware of the storm that might be brewing. Later that evening, Carla called. "You've been quiet today," she said. I told her about the note, my voice trembling. "What if he does something drastic?" "Listen," Carla said firmly, "you've already proven you're stronger than him. This is just his last, desperate attempt to rattle you. Don't let him." Her words settled over me like a warm blanket, but the unease lingered. A week later, an email arrived from Hudson's former assistant. Its subject line was cryptic. "We need to meet." Intrigued, I agreed to meet her at a cafe downtown. Hudson left the company, but not before transferring all its remaining assets into a shell corporation. She began sliding a USB drive across the table. I couldn't watch him ruin more lives, so I took this. It has everything, his illegal dealings, his offshore accounts. I thought you'd know what to do with it. "Why me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Because you're the only one who stood up to him." I left the cafe with the USB drive burning a hole in my pocket. The next morning, I forwarded its contents to the authorities, feeling a strange mix of fear and liberation. Weeks later, headlines screamed of Hudson's arrest. Former CEO exposed in financial scandal. As I read the articles, my heart swelled. not with vindication, but with peace. I turned to my laptop, where my growing online business was thriving. I was no longer defined by Hudson or his company. My life was my own, and for the first time in years, it felt like a new beginning.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.